Welcome to the Photoshop tutorial where I'm going to explain how to make selections or advanced croppings in Photoshop. That tool is being used to eliminate again certain background from an image and to use it as a single image somewhere else or overlay it over an existing other image. This tool that I'm going to be showing you, or tools, will be different than the regular cropping tool that allows basically for the cropping of parts of an image as shown here. I'm undoing this change, and for that purpose I activated the history. The history is a recorder that records every step that has been done in Photoshop, and it can be reversed by just clicking on the first or previous steps. I activated that by Windows and I selected history. That's not the histogram, but history. So that's a very important tool to have open as we're making changes in Photoshop and maybe want to reverse these changes. So I showed you that this is not the regular cropping process. But for this selection process, we're using two other tools. This one is the marquee tool and then also the lasso tool. And in Photoshop, whenever you see a little bitty arrow next to a symbol right here, by holding down the mouse key, other options also will show up. In this case, a elliptical or a single row or a single column marquee tool. The same here, by holding the mouse button down, I get different lasso or selection options, which each one I'm going to feature. For that purpose, I also have open a other image that I'm going to be using to create a new image out of, and I'm also going to create a new blank image where I'm going to be copying some content on there as well. So you need to have open a background image, in this case the image we're going to pull content from, and I'm creating file new, one more image, a blank one. I'm going to make this 1000 by 1000 pixels. Leave the background white in this example. Click OK, and so now on my tab bar I have these three images. On this image now I'm going to make a very simple rectangular, or let's say elliptical, selection. By selecting that tool I get sub options. This one here is how harsh or how soft that selection is going to be, and I will show you that difference. I got my crosshair and I'm going to select the right part of this image by holding down the mouse key and dragging, and I let go, and now I have a marching ant, that's what it's called, selection. I'm going to edit copy, and now this part is copied in my memory of the computer. I'm clicking into the blank area here and I'm selecting edit paste, and you can see now how this image has been overlaid onto this blank area. By selecting my regular crosshair tool or move tool and selecting show transform controls, I get these little handles right here that allow me now to further resize that image. I want to make sure I resize it proportionally, and that generally is done by holding down the shift key on your keyboard and selecting the corner box of a size and then dragging with my mouse or touchpad that particular image, and you can see now it is being resized proportionally. That means the height and the width are being maintained the same. So now I have my first crop here, and I commit that crop and it's sitting right here. I'm going to go back here to this image and I'm going to undo this selection, and this time I'm going to use the same elliptical tool, but I'm switching the feather to, let's say, 15 so we can see the difference. Now I'm going to remake this selection right here, copy, edit copy, and depending whether you're on a Mac or on a PC, you can learn the keyboard command. In this case, it's Control-C. That allows for quick and easy maneuvering of some of these applications. Going back over here and select Edit, Paste. And you can already see now that this image has a different border because I selected a different feathering. Again, I'm selecting my moving tool, transformation controls, and I'm holding down the Shift key. I'm pulling this image by letting go and repositioning that image right here. And now you can see I have two images, one a hard crop and one or selection and one a soft selection, just depending on the need that I have for my design work. This now is the latest one that's saved in the clipboard of the computer. I could go now over here to my other image and also paste that in here if I wanted to do that. Click, and you can see now here this image of this Volkswagen Beetle is now overlaid here. We're not going to keep that because we want to make a little bit of different collage here or new image. So I'm reversing that with the history. Now I'm going back here and to kind of look at another selection tool. This, for example, would make a rectangular selection versus the elliptical. Yours to explore. The tool that I like to introduce here now is the Lasso tools. They have different types. The Lasso is the freehand tool. Polygonal allows for the following of certain straight lines on an image or selection, and the magnetic will try to attach itself to certain outlines of an image. We're going to start with Lasso, where I, based on my mouse or touchpad skills, can make a freehand election, and on purpose I'm making that a little bit poor. And I'm just kind of going around, and I'm doing this by moving my mouse, and I have to finish at the same place where I started. And when I did it properly, connecting the beginning and ending line, I get this type of selection. I'm copying that again. Edit, copy. Moving this over here, and obviously this is kind of cluttered at this point. So I'm going to select this and delete these. And now I'm selecting Edit, Paste. And you can see now here I have the selection that I just made of this particular background right here. Going back over to my image, selecting a different tool, in this case, the polygonal lasso tool. If this still shows, I can undo that in the history, or I can also go select and then deselect, and that would also remove all selections that I've made. But now going to the polygonal lasso tool, which allows Photoshop to follow certain straight lines a little bit better, I'm going to cut out this wigwam or TP, this tent. Again, here I have some feathering options. I'm going to set that a little bit lower to 2, and I'm going to start here, and this requires some skill. It's a mouse click going up, and as you can see, it's a straight line. Click, click. Every time I click, I can change the directions, the angle. I'm going back down here. Click. And I'm doing this fast. And now I'm going back to the beginning. Double clicking. Sorry, I lost it. So this is takes sometimes 2 or 3 attempts. This will definitely help your mouse skills. Clicking a little bit too fast here. The other way around. So I can see this better. There we go. I have this selection now completed. Now, same thing. I copy, edit, copy. I go to my blank image here. I'm going to delete what's here so you can see what that looks. I'm going to edit, paste. And here is my tent. Not a very clean crop at this point, but nevertheless useful. I can also go now over to this image and go edit, paste, and you can see now I can put this tent in front of this motel's front lawn or entrance area. I have my handles here. I hold down the shift key and I can move this now, and sure enough I got a tent located now in front of the hotel. And this basically shows how I copied content from this particular area and moved it over to this area. Now in this last part, I'd like to show a little bit more advanced selection options or lasso options. So for that purpose, I'm selecting the magnetic lasso tool, which Photoshop is going to try to find its best selection around a specific object. I also have some fine-tuning options right up here where I can adjust some things to see if I can achieve a better way of making this selection. So it's click, and I'm just following with my mouse. As soon as it makes a bigger angle change, I click again and I go down here and it's trying to select the windshield going along here, and depending on the type of image it is, Photoshop will do better or worse at this. And as you can see here, I've done more or less okay to see what that actually looks like a little bit a better way. I can now use an advanced tool, what's called select masking, and now you can see here the selection that I have made. In this tool you have options now to change and fade in the transparency of the background to see what type of selection you have made. You can also choose some other filters or adjustments. Feather, we already learned that. You can smoothen your selection, or you can create more or less contrast of your selection. So these are advanced features that you can try or that you can explore right here in making these selections. Another way an image can be further or in more advanced ways be copied or selected, but let's say using the freehand lasso and just kind of going around it a little bit in a wider sense here. There we go, copying that. For that purpose, I changed the background of my image, that I have my blank image, to black. I'm gonna paste that. And now you can see I have a image that is clearly not very well copied. And now I have some different options to improve that cut that I made. And for example, in this case, I'm using my eraser tool. The eraser tool, as soon as I select it, gives me also different options here in terms of the size of the tool and how harsh that particular selection is going to be. By harsh, I mean whether it's a soft or a more cut selection. So I made that, and now I'm going to zoom in a little bit, and using this tool, you can see now I can, with some precision, erase things here, and some of it just goes by click, 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 and try to fix this so this becomes a better, more cleaner selection. I'm going very fast here, so I'm not doing a wonderful job, but you get the idea. Now this can be also then brought down to a very detailed level as I'm increasing this to a very close up. I then have much more control by selecting, for example, now the tool, making it harder. I can make a selection that is much more precise, because now I'm on a very detailed pixel level. I can also choose a different brush or a different type of eraser tool if I feel something might work better, depending on the type of erasing that I need to do. And again, I can bring this down to a very, very small level that I can eventually erase every pixel to the point exactly what I need to make this extremely clean and more professional, as you can see the kind of level control that I have here as I'm up to like a 600% enlargement. And this is a very tedious, time-consuming process that a lot of designers are engaging, especially in high-end resolution images, in quality images that go into print or so forth. There's many other different ways that also this type of background can be eliminated. And one last way I'd like to show you is also located under the eraser tool is the background eraser tool. Again, I have some adjustment options here. And as I'm moving my mouse here, Photoshop will try to determine on its own kind of what I'd like to keep and what I'd like to erase. And you can see here it's doing a fairly good job along the hood of the car, leaving what and this is just by many mouse clicks, leaving what I'd like to keep and erasing what I'd like to eliminate. And if I go too far into it, you see it's erasing some other areas as well. But for that reason, I have my background eraser option here in the history panel, where I can correct any misstep or misclick that I have done. So this concludes an overview over the different tools located here on the left, the lasso and the selection marquee tools, allowing me to eliminate certain content from an image and overimpose it onto another area, for example, or using it as a single standalone image. Thank you for watching.